You've heard of the first Manhattan Project, right? The one that created a weapon to end a world war? Well, today, another one is underway, but this time it's happening in China. And the goal isn't a bomb, it's a completely self-reliant computing stack. We're talking everything from the software you use to the tiny chips that power it all. Oppenheimer's words, they still send a chill down your spine, don't they? They mark the end of that original project and the dawn of a new era of power. This quote is here as a stark reminder of the sheer gravity of these nation-defining projects, because believe me, the stakes in today's tech race are every bit as high. So, let's put them side by side. Manhattan Project 1.0, that was America, building the atomic bomb with the goal of ending World War II. Fast forward to today, Project 2.0 is China, building its own complete computing stack with the goal of achieving tech supremacy. We've shifted from a war of physical weapons to a war of digital ones.
Now, this new war didn't start with missiles or a bang. It started in October 2022. The Biden administration launched what was called a lethal attack on China's tech sector through a massive set of export controls. The shock to the system was so immediate, so severe, that Chinese tech stocks lost a combined $240 billion in market value pretty much overnight.
Okay, so what was the American game plan here? Well, it was the seemingly perfect three-gate strategy, a plan designed to completely choke off China's AI ambitions before they could even get off the ground.
The strategy was brilliant because it targeted three critical choke points in the supply chain. First step, the brain. That's the highly specialized software you need to design the chips. Second, the hand, the incredible machines that physically manufacture them. And third, the muscle, the high-powered AI hardware itself. Think NVIDIA's most powerful chips.
So here's how they slammed gate number one shut. You see, designing an advanced chip is literally impossible without something called EDA software. And as it turns out, the entire global market is almost completely controlled by just 3 American-affiliated companies. By locking down these essential tools, the US effectively blocked Chinese firms from even designing their own advanced chips. So with the design software blocked, we move to gate number 2, manufacturing. This requires what is probably the most complex machine ever built by humans, the ASML lithography tool. I mean, this thing is the size of a bus, it costs over $200 million, and it is the only machine on planet Earth capable of printing chips at that cutting-edge 3-nanometer scale. But wait a second, you might be thinking, ASML is a Dutch company, right? How could the US possibly control it? Well, Washington found a clever bit of leverage. Deep inside that super complex machine, there's a critical component, the Cymer light source, that's made in California. By controlling that one irreplaceable part, the US could effectively force ASML to stop selling its machines to China. And just like that, Gate 2 was slammed shut. So, let's recap. The strategy was basically flawless. All 3 gates were locked. China was cut off from the tools, the machines, and the chips. Everyone thought the race was over before it even began. But Washington made one single, fatal miscalculation. And this right here, this gets to the absolute heart of the mistake. The US assumed Chinese companies operated like American ones, driven by market logic and the need to hit quarterly profit targets. They figured the crushing cost of research and development would just be unsustainable. But they missed the crucial point. China wasn't playing a market game. It was playing a national survival game. And in that game, the state was willing to fund it indefinitely. Profit was totally irrelevant. So, with survival as the only real goal, and backed by what seemed like unlimited state funding, Chinese companies got incredibly creative. They started developing some amazing, clever software and hardware workarounds to get past America's blockade. One of the most brilliant solutions was on the software side. Let me give you an analogy. Think of a typical AI model as a hospital, where if you show up with a scraped knee, 250 different specialists all rush into your room to figure it out. It works, sure, but it's super slow and crazy expensive. China's DeepSeek AI, on the other hand, is like a hospital with a really smart receptionist who sees your knee and calls only the knee specialist. It's fast, it's cheap, and it is radically more efficient. And they used a similar kind of clever trick to deal with data transfer. The US banned the high-speed cables that let all the chips talk to each other. Think of this like walling up the large front door you use to move furniture. So what did China do? They didn't need the big door. They just compressed the sofa, the data, into an IKEA-style flat-pack box, basically a zip file, and easily slid it right through the smaller opening. So what about the hardware? They were blocked from buying the best NVIDIA chips. You can think of one of those as a big, efficient truck. So China built an ant colony. They took hundreds of less powerful chips, like an army of small scooters, and wired them all together to get the same result. Now, it's a brute force solution that works, but it comes at a huge cost. It burns 4 times more power to do the exact same job. And that, of course, leads to the next massive problem. This ant colony of scooters gets the job done, but man, is it hungry. So how on earth do you fuel an entire army of inefficient hardware running around the clock, 24/7? The answer was as simple as it was breathtaking in its ambition. If your chips are going to burn 4 times more power, well, you just have to figure out a way to make electricity 4 times cheaper. And this is what kicked off China's great energy gambit. Now, to understand how they even attempted this, you need to know about something called the hue line. It's this imaginary diagonal line that splits China in two. To the east, that's where 94% of the entire population lives, on just 43% of the land. But the west, it's vast, and it is almost completely empty, the perfect place to build some truly massive energy projects. And when I say massive, the scale is just staggering. In the Western Gobi Desert, China is building a renewable energy project that is set to deliver 450 gigawatts of power. To put that number into perspective for you, that is more electricity than Germany and Brazil combined. They also got wildly creative with where they put their data centers to slash those energy costs. We're talking about bomb-proof data centers built deep inside mountains to take advantage of natural cooling. They've sunk others to the bottom of the ocean to be cooled by seawater, and they've essentially turned their western deserts into massive solar batteries. And to fuel this entire enterprise, the Chinese government invested a staggering $47 billion directly into its semiconductor companies. Now, this wasn't a loan. It was basically free money with only one condition attached: delete America from your supply chain, period. So what was the ultimate result of America's perfect plan? Well, it didn't choke China. Instead, it forced China to build its own completely separate world. And the result is that the tech world is now permanently divided. This slide really shows you the new reality we live in. For every major piece of American tech, China now has its own parallel alternative. Instead of OpenAI, they have DeepSeek. Instead of NVIDIA's chips, they have Huawei's Ascend chips. Instead of Windows, there's Harmony OS. The sanctions didn't kill the industry. They actually acted like a vaccine. It made it sick for a little while, but ultimately it forced it to become immune. So what are the big lessons we can pull from all this? I think there are 3. First, for a determined nation, sanctions can actually act like a vaccine, forcing it to become stronger in the long run. Second, national survival is a far, far more powerful motivator than corporate profit. And finally, in a game that consumes this many resources, the player who controls the energy, they hold a major advantage. Which leaves us with one final, critical question to ponder. In a future that will be defined by AI and its absolutely immense energy needs, who really holds the power? Is it the one with the most advanced chip, or is it the one with the cheapest, most abundant energy? Something to think about.